Being the strongest power in the One Piece series, is there any way to beat Luffy's Gear 5? Luffy's battle against Kaido at Wano yesterday was shocked by the awakening of Luffy's Devil Fruit that was later called Gear 5. The power of Gear 5 is truly very powerful. Luffy himself then calls this Gear 5 technique his peak power. The Gorosei even admit that the power of Luffy's Devil Fruit is one of the greatest and most terrible powers ever. However, with such power, is there anyone who is capable of equaling his strength? In this video, we will discuss how to defeat Luffy's Gear 5. The impressive Gear 5 made its debut in chapter 1045. In this chapter, we have seen how Luffy managed to overwhelm Kaido. Kaido couldn't believe anyone had so much power. Gear 5 is the technique Luffy uses to defeat Kaido in this fight. Then, after the Wano arc was finished, Luffy returned to using Gear 5 on Egghead Island. In chapters 1069 and chapter 1070, we again see the tremendous power of Luffy against Rob Lucci. Even Rob Lucci, who has awakened his Devil Fruit power, is unable to match the power of Gear 5 Luffy. In chapter 1069, we saw how Luffy was able to beat Lucci mercilessly. Rob Lucci wasn't even given the chance to counterattack. In chapter 1070, we see how Rob Lucci again becomes the target of Luffy's attack. This time, Luffy used his new techniques, namely Dawn Whip and Dawn Rocket. Rob Lucci didn't even expect that there was such a powerful level of power. With the awesomeness of this Gear 5, many fans might wonder whether Luffy's Gear 5 can be defeated. The answer is Gear 5 can be beaten, even though it will be very difficult. How to beat Gear 5 Luffy? The only way is to take advantage of the weakness of the technique. Then what then becomes the weakness of Gear 5? Whether you realize it or not, the weakness of Gear 5 lies in the use of very large power or energy. The energy from Luffy will be drained immediately when finished using it. As Trafalgar Law and Eustace Kid have said, the power of awakening really drains their energy and stamina. And this also applies to Luffy. In Luffy's case, proof of this was shown in chapter 1045 yesterday. After using Gear 5's power for a long time, Luffy looks exhausted. This can be seen from the change in his face, where Luffy becomes very weak and like someone who is on the edge of death. Luffy looks exhausted after using Gear 5. Luffy himself says that Gear 5 really drains all of his energy. If it wasn't for the Drums of Liberation returning to restore Luffy's energy and strength, he could have died at that moment. This also happened again in chapter 1070, where Luffy seemed exhausted in the rocket that took him to the upper room of Egghead Island after the fight against Rob Lucci. By taking advantage of this weakness, his enemies can attack Luffy after he runs out of steam. The time lag before Luffy recovers could be the moment to carry out a devastating attack on Luffy. This is what Kaido didn't do in the battle on Onigashima, which made Luffy finally able to get back up and win. The next big question is who can beat Luffy's Gear 5. So far, there really isn't a character that can match the power of Gear 5 Luffy. Kaido, who in fact is the strongest creature, must finally surrender to Luffy's hands thanks to this power. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't any parties who can't beat him. We still don't know the power levels of some mysterious characters like Blackbeard or even Shanks. Maybe they will be able to match Luffy's powerful level of strength. In addition, several characters are also believed to be able to match Luffy's level of strength. For example, 𝐻YPEKAGE and also the Gorosei. Gear 5 Luffy's power comes as his preparation to face a much stronger opponent. Currently, there is still no other opponent stronger than Kaido. This means that future opponents will have the opportunity to be much stronger than Kaido like 𝐻YPEKAGE or Gorosei. Their strength is still mysterious until now, but how they are in their current position gives a clue that the Gorosei and 𝐻YPEKAGE are not ordinary people, and maybe they have extraordinary powers.